Prajwal sir said. The thing is that from this semester, what we have done, yeah, Priya has joined. What we have done, we have allotted the Saturday classes, or one class, or maybe at best two classes for student presentation. What is that? We have met groups of, I think, three students. Hmm. You are 21 in the physics family, taking all the years. So we have met seven groups, three each. What you have to do, I mean, every week, two groups, they would be presenting something, a PowerPoint presentation on any topic on physics. Okay. And that topic your group has to choose and send us at least 10 days before your presentation so that we can review that. And on Saturdays rather, your group will be presenting it offline or online only. Okay, you need not to come to college. And there would be three members in a group, and all the members will have to one by one give the presentation. Is it clear, Pewang?
Yes, sir.
Okay. I think rest of you it is clear. Now the thing is that you might be wondering that, sir, why this thing? It may feel like a burden to you. I can feel it. Whenever you are asked to present something, to speak in front of 10 people virtually at least, or maybe even in offline mode, you feel butterflies in your stomach, right? It happens with most of us. Unless and until we are an inborn motivational speaker or public speaker, this thing is very natural. I won't lie. When I came to teaching in the colleges way back in 2016, the first day my hands were trembling. My first class was a practical class with the computer honors people who took physics as a past subject. Okay, so that day I realized that how much I missed these presentation things as a student. We didn't have this opportunity. So what we want you all is to be at least presentable, because from here onwards, as Prajal sir said, it doesn't matter whether you want to pursue a career in physics, or you want to go for UPSC, you want to go for private sector, you want to go for your own business. Okay, you want to even set up your own YouTube channel. I won't mind that. No one should mind it unless and until is giving something back to the society. So the main thing is that presentability. You always, everywhere now onwards, you have to give a presentation, right? Like you want to go for a job, in the interview they may ask you to give a presentation. So how to be not expert, at least how to get rid of this phobia. Am I clear to everyone? That is the main idea behind this initiative. Is everyone okay?
Yes, sir.
Yes,
And
sir.
don't panic. In each group there are at least one senior people. Senior people means second or third, second sem. They would be guiding you. We are always there to help you out. I don't want nerdy people to graduate from our college who has only theoretical knowledge but who can't interact properly with people. You will find many often there are genius people who have lots of degrees, PhDs, medals at their disposal, but they can rarely interact with the audience, right? I think everyone has seen that. And also we have seen people who are very they are very ordinary qualification, but they are very good speakers. So the idea here is not to become a motivational speaker, but to express your what you know. Okay, how to present your knowledge. This is very important, because I expect at least some of you to be teachers in the future. I don't know how many of you are willing to take up that as a profession, not as a profession, but anywhere in your future in the employment world. Once when you would be a senior in any sector, you will have to act people, okay, if not teach. So then this presentation things would be very essential. And each group, and the ladies are also scattered well in each group, right? So that it doesn't feel like the group it's like a boys versus girls group. Okay, it's not like that. And each and everyone in the group should contribute. On the presentation day, everyone has to speak. And Bikramjit sir would be giving a beautiful demo this Saturday on that. Hmm. So that is about the student presentation. Anything you want to ask? Any doubts you have?
No, sir.
Okay, it's compulsory and it will contribute a lot to your internals. Okay, I mean your continuous evaluation. Okay, I don't think anyone else is going to join. So what I'm going to do today is I will be taking an introductory class on the topic which I'm supposed to teach. So as I said, I would be teaching the CC4 part. Okay, CC4 paper called Webs and Optics. I would be teaching the webs part. Let me try to enter from a different account so that I can keep track. Because I can feel that first day everyone doesn't want to, straight away enter into the learning process. It's very boring. When we were students, we also didn't like this thing. But still, due to lack of time, we have to enter. So, is my screen visible to everyone?
Yes, sir.
Fine.
Yes, sir.
Okay. So, the topic for the day, before you have some expectation on this topic, as far as your exam is concerned, let me tell you, nothing will come from this topic, at least from today's lecture. Okay. But it is very essential for you to understand. So, today we'll briefly go into the history of light. And when we're studying that thing in physics, we call that branch as optics. Everything is familiar with the term optics. Now, why am I calling this a brief history of light? Over the years, our curiosity has led us into many new things, isn't it? Just try to recollect your first days in your school, or the first time which you can, recollect from your childhood days. We always have been curious regarding things, isn't it? Why it happens, how it happens, and what happens with age. This curiosity fades away with someone as we come to, accept things as they are. But there are few people who are curious to, revolt, to always be rebellious against that. And deep inside us, there is still a curious being in each one of us. So such curiosity takes some people to greater heights. For some, it's not anything appealing. So the biggest mystery which has baffled mankind, humankind over the years is that what is this thing called light? I would like to take some answers from you. Please, one by one, tell what does light mean to you? Anything. What comes to your mind when you hear the word light? Just Pevang, what you feel when you hear the word light? Pevang, am I audible? Pevang is not on the. Khushi, what you feel regarding light? Khushi, am I audible?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Yes. What comes to your mind when you hear light? Anything you tell. What you feel? Arti, what do you feel when you hear light?
Are a part of the electromagnetic spectrums.
Just be a bit innocent. I mean, don't be like a physics student. Uh, what comes to your mind when you hear light? Yeah, this is true. This is not incorrect.
The radiation.
Radiation. Okay, fine. Uh, Priya is also not around. Nirupan, what do you feel?
Well, I think that light is the source that makes things visible, like example, sun and light bulb.
Something that makes things visible. Sudhanshu, what do you feel?
So which helps us to see things.
Hmm. Okay. Shuvayu, what do you feel?
So something that helps us to see
Okay, good.
when it reflects.
Right. Fine. All of you have given very detailed thoughts. Khushi, can you tell anything regarding light? If you are able to speak on the mic. Okay, I think she has some problem. Anyways, so yeah, something that makes things visible, something that is like radiation, something which source as a serve that that serves as a source to make things visible. Right, everything is right. Hmm. But these are what light does, isn't it? But what is light actually? Hmm. A very trivial question, but something which even the greatest of minds over the years have pondered upon and yet to get a perfect answer. Hmm. So this question, that what is light? Okay, this has baffled the great minds over the ages, starting from the earliest of human being, the early man, hmm, then to the before Christ era. Like anyone, can you guess this person? Any idea what this person, who this person can be? Anyone?
So which one, sir?
This statue guy?
Is
Is
this Archimedes, sir?
uh, yeah, it's not easy to tell the name from here. It is actually Euclid. Okay, so from Euclid, Aryabhatta, and some phases you know, some phases you don't know right now. You can recognize. Maybe you know the names. So all these people have dedicated a chunk of their life searching for the true nature of light. Yeah, PI is having some network issues. I felt so. Hmm. So what we'll do very briefly. Why I'm telling the word brief again and again? Because there have been many people who have worked on light, who are still working on light, and who will be working on light in the future. Maybe it's one of you or some of you in the class. Hmm. So we are just taking into accounts few of the greatest milestones. Okay. Okay. Network is Pewang is also having network issues. Who is trying to join? Ajit Lachung. Yeah, so Lachung is also here. Okay. Hello, Lachung. So what we would be doing, very briefly, we'd look into some of the milestones when it comes to decoding the mysterious nature of light. You can see the timelines. I have given the dates. These are very, approximate dates. Okay. See, 300 years before Christ to 5th century AD, then 1015. And here you can see in this era, there has been some groundbreaking works done on light. There are many other people like we had Fermat, we had Kepler. But as I said, I can't put all the names in one slide. So I've taken few of them. Then comes the modern physics era, and then this is the latest, not latest. Other other works have also been carried after this, but over and above, we would be looking into all these guys, what they did. So to start with Euclid, the only guy in the scene who doesn't have a, what should I say, a human picture, the statue guy. Okay, so what Euclid did, I think we all have heard of Euclid. You all know Euclid, right? I mean, at least the name you heard. So what Euclid said, he was of the opinion that light travels in straight lines. Here you can see a picture. I don't know whether it is visible properly or not. Euclid is trying to, I don't know, draw or show something which comprises of only straight lines. Many historians say that this is his way of explaining light. I mean, the straight lines. But the second important thing which he thought regarding light may not please us. He said that the vision, that is the image which is formed, that is due to the rays which are coming from the eyes to the object. That is, he was of the opinion that there is a source in our eye which is emitting rays, and that is what helps us to see objects. Okay, so this is what Euclid thought. Sounds pretty daft in 2021, but think of that era. In that era, without any spectrometer, microscope, nothing sophisticated, I think he was very close to the accurate answer. Who knows? So next is the only Indian in the list, the genius Aryabhatta. What he did, the ancient Greeks as well as some of the Indian philosophers of his time, they were of the opinion that Euclid was right. Rays are coming from the eye, okay, and that is what gives us the sense of vision. But Aryabhatta was the first to reiterate this thing, and he said that light is arriving from a source that is outside the eye, okay, and it is arriving at the retina that is illuminating the world around us. So he was the first to correct this thing, that no, rays are coming from, light is coming from something outside the eye that is reaching the eye. Then this person, I never heard of him before preparing this slide. I am sure that it's same with all of us. Ibn al-Hathiyam from Mesopotamia, modern day Iraq, also known as Al-Hasan. He is called as the father of optics by many because he has done a lot of works on optics. Okay. So what he did, he studied the reverse image, that is the inverted image formed by a tiny hole and indicated the rectilinear propagation of light. That is, he was the first to confirm that light travels in straight lines. Okay, just look into the timeline. 1015, 1006 years before today. There are other works. Even Alhazen's works, his books, his writings were the inspiration for the coming generation of geniuses like Kepler, Galileo, Fermat. I missed something before this one. There would be Galileo. Okay, Galileo, he invented the first telescope, which is one of the biggest inventions of humankind. There was another person. That is the problem of this topic. If I go on telling the stories, it won't end. Fermat. 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 So there's a famous Fermat's principle. It's not in your syllabus right now, which said that light will always travel in a path which will take the least time for it to travel. Okay, let me repeat. Light will always follow the path which will take the minimum time for it to reach the destination. Did you get it? Is everyone clear with this?
So can you repeat, sir?
Fermat said that suppose light has different options to reach a destination. That is, there are different paths traveling which it can reach the destination. Of all those paths, Fermat said that light will always choose that path which will take the least time to travel. Okay. I hope it is clear now. You want to reach physics department from Don Bosco More. There are different ways. You can go from the Don Bosco school gate, which is not allowed these days. You can take our main gate, then go straight from the reception. And now there is another alternate new path where you can go around the college and go straight to Nazareth. Then Fermat says that if you are light, you will take the path which will take you to the physics department in the least time. Okay, that is what Fermat's principle is all about. However, it was also criticized by some other physicists who said that this thing sounds, morally it is good, philosophically it sounds good, it's okay, but it's not necessary always. If you can't explain physics with this kind of things. So the next important or the next path breaking incident in this quest of light was done by Christian Huygens, different pronunciations are there, who put forward the wave theory of light. Huygens was a contemporary to Newton, a bit older than him. So he proposed that what we were asking over the years, what is light, he said that light is a wave. So in his wave theory, he not only proposed, but he demonstrated that waves are interfering to form a wavefront, which is propagating in a straight line. Now, what is a wavefront? We would be discussing in the coming days. Okay. So he said that light is a wave. And then what happened? You can imagine your rival is Newton. And Newton, if anyone has gone through his life story, then you'll come to know that Newton was very, very powerful person in physics back those days. And this power was not only due to his excellence, because he was a genius, but he had a lot of grip over all the, you know, officials or the big names in physics, in science back then. So this theory obviously was neglected because it was challenging something called corpuscular theory, which was put forward by Newton. We'll be studying it in the next slide. So people were so much, they had so much faith on Newton's corpuscular theory that a great philosopher, I don't remember his name right now, he once said that people trusted or people believed more Newton's corpuscular theory than Newton himself. That is, people blindly believed Newton's theory more than Newton. So in such a situation, you are coming and you're giving a theory which is challenging Newton's theory. Just imagine what can happen to you. However, what is true can't be uh, dominated for long, and eventually we'll be seeing that Newton's theory was rejected. Is everyone okay? Am I audible to everyone?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Please feel free to ask questions. This thing will not come in the exam. That doesn't mean you need not to know these things, okay? Because when you would be explaining someone light, if someone says why you need to study light, this would be your motivation behind the answer. Okay. So Newton's corpuscular theory of light. Can someone tell me where did you hear the word corpuscle in your school days? Corpuscle, did you hear it anywhere? Yeah, bio. Where?
Sir, I have got corpus luteum.
RBC, red blood corpuscle, white blood corpuscle. So corpuscle, what it means, it stands for very tiny, very light. Light means not heavy, not this light, not the illuminating one. Okay, and elastic particles. So the 6 months that we have spent with CC2, we have come to know that Newton had did a lot of important and groundbreaking discoveries, or you can say he put forward some theories on mechanics, that is dynamics. Okay, he was very much into dynamics, into mechanics. So what he did, corpuscles he thought as elastic particles, and he explained the reflection phenomena of light with the analogy of dynamics. He said that this diagram may not be perfect because there's a curve here. What he said, imagine you have an elastic ball, you are hitting it against a wall. Okay, if you hit it straight like this, it will rebound. But if you throw the ball at an angle, what will happen? It will strike the wall and return via making an angle, isn't it? Suppose you hit the ball like this, it goes to the wall and then it will rebound like this. And if you draw the normal from here, you will see this angle and this angle would be equal. Mind it, for elastic collision, isn't it? It's an observation. You can try this at home also, provided you don't damage your wall. Are you getting it? How he tried to explain reflection with the analogy of this ball, elastic ball.
Yes, sir.
Very naive, isn't it? Like these days, kids can also explain like this. But okay, fine. You can at least explain the angle of incidence and angle of reflection are equal. Now he went a step further. What he did, he tried to apply ballistics. That is, he tried to draw the analogy of projectile motion in order to explain refraction of light. That is, when a light ray bends into a denser medium, this thing he tried to explain with the analogy of a projectile. He said that this deviation can happen. I mean, a projectile will deviate when its velocity increases. That is, he said that the velocity of light in the rarer medium is less and velocity of light in the denser medium is more. That is why it is changing its path. It is getting deviated. Are you getting it? What he said regarding refraction of light?
Once more, sir.
What Newton thought? No, Newton thought that light is made up of tiny particles. Think light is nothing but it is a stream of small, elastic, very light balls. Okay. So with that analogy, he could satisfactorily explain at least why the angle of incidence and angle of reflection are same. But when it came to explaining the refraction phenomena, what he did, he said that the corpuscles or the tiny balls, they have more velocity in the denser medium. More velocity in the denser medium than the rarer medium. That is when the corpuscles are traveling in air, they have a lesser speed. When they are entering into water, they have a higher speed or velocity, hence they are deviating towards the normal. Is it clear, everyone? How Newton tried to explain refraction?
Yes, sir.
Now we all know that it's not true. The other way around it is true. And the other way around is what? The velocity of light in rarer medium is more than that in the denser medium. And for your information, this was something which Huygens predicted, and Newton vehemently criticized and rejected it. So when more experiments were made, people realized that Newton was incorrect with this thing, that velocity of light in the denser medium is always less than that in the rarer medium. And this was not the only loophole in this corpuscular theory. This theory failed to explain that, okay, fine, that light is composed of small tiny particles. Then how can you account for the colors? That is, why different lights have different color? Okay, why if red light and yellow light are all composed of corpuscles, and why red light is red and yellow light is yellow in color? Okay, then he tried to give a very weak explanation that the corpuscle size are different for different lights. Okay, at the end, this theory was rejected, and this theory is now it's never taught in the syllabus. Okay, but in many optics books, for just a customary introduction, this theory is there. So the man behind this success of Huygens, much later in 1801, nearly 150 years after Huygens, Thomas Young did this two-slit experiment. I think you have seen this thing in your class 12 or 11, double slit experiment. You know this thing. That is, Thomas used sunlight because back then there were no light sources like today we have. So what he did, he made sunlight pass through a very small hole. Okay, and then that sharp ray was obstructed by another two very small holes, and there was a screen on the other side. What was observed is that alternate dark and bright bands were formed on the screen. That is, these two rays interfered with each other. This will read in the coming days. Okay, now why this thing happens can be explained only and only if light is a wave. Are you getting my point? If you try to explain that no, light is nothing but it is a chain of, say, tennis balls, then how come these tennis balls are going and creating this pattern? So this thing confirmed that light is a wave. And this very simple looking experiment is considered as one of the top best experiments ever. Okay, so Thomas Young and his experiment discarded the corpuscular theory of light. Is everyone okay? Clear?
Yes,
Congratulations, light is a wave. What is a wave? Wave is a form of disturbance. How does it move? A wave. How does a wave move? It has to take help from the medium particles. That is, it is due to the relative displacement of the medium particles, right? That is how sound wave propagates. When the wave goes through a say solid, the atoms or molecules, or that is the constituents, they go on vibrating, and that is how the wave is propagated. Am I correct with this one? Do you agree with me that waves require a medium to travel?
No, sir.
Why? Yes, Sudhanshu, why?
Sir, they don't need a medium.
Which kind of waves? Which wave doesn't need a medium?
So electromagnetic.
Yeah, that is, if light is a wave, then it is very, very evident that light doesn't always require, light requires no medium to travel. I mean, without any medium, light can travel. Light can travel in vacuum, right? So how can you account for that? You are telling that light is a wave. You have proven by experiments, but light is moving through nothing. How is that possible? If there is nothing, how can a wave propagate? A wave is dependent on the medium particles. So then many people tried to figure out that there can be probably a mysterious medium which is present everywhere. That medium was called ether. Okay, this ether is not that ether in organic chemistry. Ethereal or ether, this stands for that something that is present everywhere. So they said that okay, light has a light requires this special ether medium which is invisible to us, and through it light as a wave moves. Fine, but no one could detect at the end an ether medium. So now light is a wave, light is moving in vacuum. So these two contradictions went on for some time until and unless this Englishman called James Clerk Maxwell, who was doing a splendid job in explaining electricity and magnetism, unifying together these two things, he came up with the proposal that light is nothing but it is a composition of continuously changing electric and magnetic fields. Okay, and with his theory he could even calculate precisely the velocity of light. You can see this thing was calculated around 1870, so very close to the value accepted today. So Maxwell said that light waves are composed of electric and magnetic fields. Fine, and they don't require any medium to travel. This theory would be discussing in the next class in details. It is in our syllabus. So Maxwell's theory had a lot of inspiration from Michael Faraday. This guy who throughout his entire life, he began his career as a bookbinder, as a poor bookbinder. He used to bind the books in a shop, and he was a big fan of Humphrey Davy. Back in those days, there used to be public shows on science. Like today we have these stand-up comedians or theaters or movies. Back then, the scientists were the rock stars of the day. They used to go in an opera. There was a jam-packed house, jam-packed hall, and they used to demonstrate experiments. So he used to go to attend those lectures of Humphrey Davy, just take some torn pages, note down things, and at the end, he became even more famous than his master Humphrey Davy. Okay, so Michael Faraday, his works inspired Maxwell. Still, this thing was going on. People were not convinced that light is a wave because, due to this genius, Einstein, not Einstein has to be blamed for this. I think Hertz, when he did an experiment on photoelectric effect, that is on some special metals. When you are throwing light of a particular wavelength, it is emitting energy, photoelectric effect. So this thing could not be explained by the wave theory of light. Then what Newton did, he modified the existing theory of light. He said that light is, mind it, he didn't reject it totally, he modified some parts. He said that light is comprised of small tiny packets of energy, which we call quanta. Quanta means a fixed value, and he called this stream of particles as photons. Sorry, these particles as photons, and the stream of these photons is nothing but light. So see, Newton was correct to some extent. Newton also said light is comprised of tiny particles. That is what Einstein said. But Newton's explanation was not fully correct. And rest is history. After this, there was a lot of development in quantum mechanics, and Einstein was given the Nobel Prize for his photoelectric effect theory. Then the latest thing which happened after that was Louis de Broglie. It's not Broglie, it's Broglie if you pronounce in French. This guy came to a consensus because people saw that if you want to explain reflection, refraction, interference, diffraction, this phenomena of light could be explained by wave nature of light. On the other hand, photoelectric effect is there, Compton scattering is there. These things are also happening, but these things require to be explained only by the particle nature of light. So what is this thing? Light is sometimes a wave, sometimes a particle. So de Broglie said that light exhibits both kind of phenomena, both kind of nature. It depends on the interaction it has with the matter, how it interacts with matter, and according to the phenomena, light behaves as a wave or as a particle. And this is called the wave particle duality. And this is the, many people say, as the stepping stone of development of quantum mechanics in the future. So these are just few people whom I tried to put in the presentation, but there were many other people. There was Grimaldi, Copernicus, Orson, many people. And there would be many people in the future, maybe anyone from you. And right now also there are many people who are still searching for the exact nature of light. And many scientists say that till date we have been unable to find the exact nature of light, whether it is a wave or it's a particle. And people say that no, light behaves in a very peculiar manner which is beyond our thought process. We are trying to explaining it in terms of what we know. We know waves, we know particles. Maybe light is behaving a very, very different phenomena which is beyond our cognition. Okay. So this is the book that I would be following for most of my lectures. Optics, 6th edition by Ajay Ghatak. This book is a bit costly. It's around 650 rupees. If you can get the PDF, I would tell you to better download the PDF because you don't need the entire book. Apart from that, there is a book by Amy Gupta. You can also keep that at hand. That you can purchase. or you may not purchase. It's up to you. Try to get this book, at least the PDF thing. Okay, everything is explained in very illustrative manner in this book. I'll try to find the PDF. If I have, I can share. Okay, so let's end the day with some motivation by Lisa Meitner, that physics teaches people to accept reality with awe and admiration, not to mention that the amazement and joy that comes with it. Okay, that is the blessings of physics. And if you don't know who Lisa Meitner is, just Google it. She was the lady behind the nuclear fission, not Otto Hahn. Okay, so that's all. I think I went a bit beyond the time. If you have any question, you can quickly ask. No, we still have 5 minutes. Anything you want to ask? You want to say? Any doubt, anything from anyone? Okay. If that is the case, then we can talk with Lachung. How did Lachung spend his vacation? He can tell us. Yes, Lachung, how was your vacation?
Yes, sir.
How did you spend your vacation?
So me,
Yeah.
so I didn't do much.
Did you play
So I stayed.
badminton?
Yes, sir, a little bit. So
Yeah.
badminton, played guitar and all. So that much.
Very good.
I
Guitar,
went to
what?
Tottenham.
Acha. Guitar, what guitar you play? Acoustic or electrical one?
So acoustic.
Did you learn somewhere?
No, sir. Home only.
Oh my good. What kind of? I mean, you play with your finger or your plectrum?
So both. So pick also, fingers also, so strumming everything.
Acha. So have you heard of that finger style?
Yes, sir, finger style.
That what is that?
So I do that sometimes.
Acha, acha. I'm struggling to do that. I also learned from musician little bit. What
Yes,
they
sir.
call it? Spanish guitar. That rumba, flamenco.
His Spanish or Arabian, sir. Everything is there.
Yeah. I mean the classical guitar, which has the nylon string.
Yes, sir. So that fretboard is damn big, sir.
Very big fretboard,
Yes,
and
sir.
you have
Sir,
to literally
it's not
look in,
compatible for me, sir, because I'm in
no,
acoustic now, so it's not compatible for me to do.
and you can't hold it in your lap like this. You have to as if
Yes,
keep
sir.
it on your lap, as if a child is standing on your lap. You have to look into the fretboard every time.
Yes.
And
Yes, sir.
with
Plus it
this,
has only 18 frets, sir.
yeah, very big frets, and
So
with this,
whereas in acoustic you can have 19, 21. So in some
hmm.
electric guitars there are 24 frets.
Yes, 24 frets, and in with your acoustic guitar with the string, this
Yes,
steel
sir, it
strings,
hurts.
it hurts. Yeah, I tried. I was about to snap my fingers, but it's
So
very nice. I
first it
don't know
hurts.
how people can make it, but this nylon strings won't fit in your acoustic guitar. I tried it. Someone said that
No, sir, it won't.
this.
So because the strings are so damn big and the fretboard is so small
Mm-hmm.
for acoustic guitar.
Yeah, it's good. Okay, one day we can have a concert,
Yes, sir, we can
departmental
have
at
jam
least,
also. Yes,
because
sir, yes, sir.
with musician I tried to learn to some
So
extent.
we have
Then
vocalists. So we have vocalists now also,
we have
sir. So
everything. We
Subha,
have
Nirupal
everyone.
and all are also there.
Yeah. Then Priya Khushi, they can take care of the presentation.
Yes, sir, yes, sir.
Aarti is also there. Aarti can sing, I think, na Aarti? Okay, so Aarti can sing. So yeah, we have everything. So apart from your studies, keep track of these talents also. Okay, life is too short to end up studying physics only. Okay.
Yes, sir.
Okay, thank you then. So let's meet again in the next class. I don't know whether tomorrow I would be able to take the class because I have to go to the university. Okay, I'll let you all know. and asking about your copies. You try to make new copies for this semester. Fine. Copies for CC3, CC4. Okay, so if Lachung wants to dance, then he has to part with the guitar.
No, sir. No, sir. So I can't dance.
Okay. Okay, you can learn. Shubhayu may teach you.
There's a Subayu, you know, sir.
Yeah, I heard he is also good.
Yes, sir.
So, okay. Okay, thank you everyone then.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir.
Thanks, sir.